Hi there, and welcome to How To with Mahlum. When deciding to do this podcast, I really wanted to create something that could give people real tools on how to execute on certain things. So often we talk about things on such a macro scale that, yes, leaves people inspired, but with no real idea on what the steps are to make something in their own life happen. I challenge and encourage and probe my amazing guests to get granular and specific on their strategies, their mindset, their tactics, and their methodologies so that you can learn practical, actionable steps to best optimize your confidence, career, health, and wealth. What's up, you guys? Welcome to the How To podcast with myself and Mahlum. This podcast is all about sharing the practices that successful people have adopted and turning them into practical, actionable steps that you can use to optimize your confidence, career, health, and wealth. Join me today as I speak with some of the most interesting people I know who share their gifts so you can thrive too. Today, we're fortunate to have Alex Weber with us. Alex is an acclaimed author, world record holder, and one of the youngest coaches ever to win the US Lacrosse Coach of the Year Honors Award. But he also knows what it feels like to hit some challenges, self-doubt, pressures, uncertainty, and failures, and how you can overcome them. It's his genuine understanding of leadership, peak performance, and peak challenges mixed with entertaining stories and actionable strategies that make Alex connect so well with audiences right away that will leave you with a lasting impact. With his contagious energy, we're looking forward to that, positive passion, and uplifting humor, Alex shares some of his game-changing secrets to record-breaking success and will be the human shot of espresso to make you come alive. Well, Alex, those are big shoes to fill. I have high expectations now.
Let's see. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, well, welcome. Thanks so much for being here. If you can just start by sharing a little bit with the listeners on who you are.
Yeah. Ooh, well, that's I think I'm going to give two answers to that because there's like the who are you, which is all right, let's hear your 3 to 5 bullets of accomplishments so that we can understand your credibility and how well you've done in this life on earth. And then I'll give the who am I, who I also feel is who am I? So who I am, let's see. I'm an award-winning host for NBC American Ninja Warrior. I'm also a competitor on NBC American Ninja Warrior, won US Lacrosse Coach of the Year, played D1, played in the World Cup, world record holder. Lots of stuff that I'm really proud of that's meant a lot to me, that I've given my absolute best to, been scared, failed, overcome challenges, and succeeded at. It's not always looked exactly like how I thought it would look, sometimes better, sometimes worse, sometimes just different. But I'm really proud that I've always listened to whatever the fire is in my heart. I've listened, honored, and gone after it. And I think that's really who I am, is because I wrestle with demons and a negative voice and bad habits and beating the crap out of myself. I feel that I have a very deep passion to connect with other people as they go after what's in their heart. And they deal with a negative voice. They deal with challenges. They deal with mental and emotional health. So that's my biggest passion, is helping people achieve what's in their heart.
That's awesome. I obviously have a ton of questions. And I like that you said, again, there's more about like who we are. And yes, the credibility of like, why should we listen to you, Alex? And then who you are as a human. And one of the things that I've started saying, Alex, even when people say like, oh, that's not who I am, or that's who I am. I'm like, if you can just add 2 words at the end of that of that's not who I am right now. That's who I am right now, because we evolve and we change. And so often we get stuck in an identity that no longer serves us. And if I think back to the person I was at 16, 26, 36, whatever, I may have elements and versions of that person still in me, but I've evolved a lot. So I'd love to just start there more so than even your credibility. You said the word demons, which we all have. I'm curious if you can share a little bit more about that with us.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, it's I'll say this. Like I've reflected a lot, I think, in what we do, which is speaking and writing books, and I coach people. I think it's important to reflect on your defining experiences and what's helped you, hurt you, shaped you. And in doing that, I've realized that a lot of the darker chapters in my life were needed in order to come through and have empathy and have abilities to connect with people. But there are some things that I think that have, as they've lingered, maybe they don't really have value in my life, like excessively beating the crud out of myself, or bad habits that used to be okay but really are not okay anymore. And
like what? Can you share one of those with us?
Yeah, I'm sober for 15 months, and that was one where I've been a work hard, play hard guy my entire life. So every single credential that I mentioned there, it's not like I was waking up in a gutter. Every single credential of American Ninja Warrior, US Lacrosse Coach of the Year, acclaimed author, all the cool stats sheet was celebrated hard. And there gets to be a point, at least in my life, where saying something or doing something, even if it was 1 out of 40 times, that wasn't my best self, I was like, I just don't want this in my life anymore.
Yeah.
So that no longer served me anymore. I'll say that, like, I've really, over the last year, gotten better at not excessively beating the crap out of myself. And I actually was talking to, he's a VP at a huge recruiting firm. I was talking to him this morning. He just had a little bit of a slip up and returned to some bad habits. And it's, as high achievers, that's who I love. I love high achievers. I am a high achiever. I have such a soft spot for high achievers because you want so much for your life. And in doing that, it's not freaking easy. So there's so many challenges that come with it. And this is a tactical tool, being on the How To podcast. Just be neutral. If you're having a great day, awesome, be great. If you're having an day, fine, be If you're having a bad day or a bad moment or you screwed up, just choose to feel that, but not get sucked into the negative quicksand of it. So you can feel crappy, but then let's just see, what if you were just neutral? What if you didn't beat the crap out of yourself for your 45-minute home commute? What if you didn't take it to all night on the next morning? What if we just instead were neutral? And then if you look at that stat sheet at the end of the day, week, month, year, life, if we only have positives and neutrals and slight negatives, we're going to be trending up in a whole lot better way than if we have this roller coaster of big highs and big lows.
Yeah, a couple of things there. One, the whole notion of when we mess up once, we serve it. It's like, my boyfriend also calls it the fuck it button, that like, I messed up once and like, therefore I had, something crappy for breakfast. So now what's the point? I've been eating great for 12 days and now I've just ruined it. So I'm going to throw everything out with the progress I've made. It doesn't matter anymore. Right. And we do that with our thoughts, our belief systems, everything else. Of one mistake or one something seems to carry so much weight over the 90 other things that you did well and good that day.
Yeah.
And it's also, I think, Alex, just being prepared. Your brains are kind of wired that way.
Yep.
So you need to know that and like have a game plan for when those negative thoughts come in. Because I do think sometimes we can have a tendency to feel like, oh, it's only me who thinks these negative things about ourselves. It's not true. I don't care if it's Brad Pitt. I don't care if it's someone that you think has the most glamorous, amazing life. We all have those self-doubts come in. The difference in somebody who you see as successful, they have a game plan to overcome them.
Yeah. I think you nailed it. And I think, just self-awareness too of we're not all the same. And I remember I played D1 college lacrosse in the Ivy League at Penn. It was my absolute everything, my dream. My freshman year, I started every game. But my sophomore year, I was so hard on myself and so intense that it sabotaged me. And I remember before a game, I looked at my teammate, my friend, and he was laughing and he was joking around before a game. And I remember to this day looking at him and being so envious and just thinking, how is he happy right now? How does he feel excited? How does he feel joy right now when all I feel is such intense pressure of I need to succeed? And I think just some awareness of like, wow, we're not all the same. We all haven't had the same nature and nurture and experiences that have brought us here. So understanding a little bit of your quirks and what helps you in certain situations.
Are you one of these people, because I am too, that associate achievement with love?
Oh, yeah. Hard yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Does that, because it's interesting when we feel like what we're all chasing, we don't know each other too well, but same thing. I've had a lot of success in my life, and I have almost felt like I've been addicted to achievement, addicted to productivity. and like my rap sheet of like, how many things can I get on there that are more interesting than the person next to me, so that no one will ever leave me, that someone will always love me. And how can you possibly love me if this list isn't long and impressive? And so it takes a lot of, it's like, I'm like, that's interesting for myself, because it is where my drive comes from. And anybody who has a drive, it's emotionally driven. So I'm like, I like that about myself, but I got to be careful. It's like anything else of someone who's an addict or whatnot. You got to be careful of how far you take it, because assuming that no one's going to love you if you're not producing, or that you can't love yourself if you're not producing, is a really difficult game to keep up for your entire life.
It is. I think something that we're kind of circling to is what is the motivator? And, something I think I've realized also just in the world that we live in is, because like you, I have had an interesting chapter of experiences. What I've also learned is people tap out at 3, maybe 4. Like, you were very kind and gave a very thorough bio of me. People don't care after the top 2, maybe 3. So it's also provided a little bit of freedom of like, and I think about that, jack of all trades, master of none. I think the glittery light syndrome is very real in our day and age, where there's just always a next best thing. Mm-hmm. But I think there's really something to be said for getting clear on, everything that I've actually really succeeded has had the same through line. Like US Lacrosse Coach of the Year, TV hosting, and speaking. Those all had kind of a similar through line. It was me engaging with people in a way that made them feel good and achieve something. And so I think, and that's who I am to my bones. That's who I've been my entire life. So I think getting clear on what is it in you that you really feel like deeply, fierily passionate about, and also pretty well equipped for, then I think that's 50% of it. And then the other 50% is just looking in the world and being like, where can I plug this puzzle piece where people actually need it? And maybe change a few things. I think that was part of my evolution too, was realizing, especially as I got into speaking, there was so many things that I was fired up to talk about, but that doesn't help anybody. We need to make it a fit where there's a puzzle piece that people need, and then we could bring in our passion to actually serve people.
Yeah. I think, I'm sure a lot of people ask you for advice too about what to do, and they want to do this business, they want to do this thing. And one of the things I remind people of too, and it sounds like you were going there, and I do want to come back to the sober thing. So I have a note for that. But it's like, you have to enjoy the process. You need to think about, people are like, oh, I want to be a partner in a law firm. I'm like, do you know what that means on a daily basis? Like, do you know that that's 12, 14 hours a day behind a desk or whatever it is? And like, that's what you have to enjoy, not the idea of, or how it feels when you tell somebody you're a partner in the law firm, because that's short-lived and it lasts 2 seconds, but you're going to spend hours, like years of your life doing that thing. Yeah, I think that's really, when you really break it down, a lot of people want the end result. They don't want the process. They don't want the middle part. 100%. I want to go back to the sober thing. It's interesting you said that. I also quit drinking this year. Was that the plan? Like, are you sober for good? Were you like, I need to check myself? I want to go there because I have loved talking about this. I'm not an addict. I don't know if you are. You can share if you are or you aren't. But I was like, there's no one talking about this. It's either like you're a drinker or you have a problem. And same thing. I achieved a lot when I was drinking alcohol. I wasn't waking up hungover, but I was drinking pretty consistently 2 drinks a night. And I was just like, what am I doing this for? Why am I buying into this? I'm in the health and fitness industry. It's not great for me. Do I not think I'm not going to ever have any adverse effects from doing this? So was there a moment for you, or what caused that whole commitment, or at least attempt to be like, I'm just going to set this aside for a while and see what happens?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a journey, just like everything. And I think when alcohol got introduced to my life, it was in freshman or sophomore year of high school. And I was on all the varsity teams, so I was playing as a 9th grader with the seniors. And so I would get invited to like parties with them, and I would be so nervous. And I was an insecure, awkward kid to begin with. And one of the other reasons I freaking love sports And it can be sports. I tell people this all the time. It can be sports, it can be music, it can be a hobby, it can be a business, it can be a person. Find an outlet if you're struggling. Find a good outlet to give yourself to, because sports saved me. I hated middle school, and then I got into sports and it changed my entire life. So I was this insecure, awkward kid, and then alcohol was basically, I just viewed it as a simple formula. Me plus alcohol equals better. I'm better. People like me more. I'm funnier. I'm more outgoing. I do silly things. Even if I get too drunk, it's a story. And that really carried through high school, into college, into the years after. But it also started to be this kind of more and more escapism thing. Mm-hmm. And I remembered I started going to therapy when I was about 26, and it just became very clear that I viewed alcohol as this thing that could do no wrong. Like, I put it on such a pedestal as this like magic potion that was like, oh gosh, if I do a good job, then I can have some on Friday. And if I have some on Friday, well, it's just going to be this adventure. And here's the other thing that I want to say as I'm getting into this. I think alcohol is absolutely awesome for so many people. So I encourage you, if you're listening, you reflect on your own experiences and you make a decision that's right for you. But alcohol might be alcohol. Alcohol might be pornography. Alcohol might be technology or a vape or addiction to checking email or positive addictions too. But it's a way that we're looking at something outside of ourselves to make ourselves feel better. So I went through chapters of not drinking. I didn't drink for 4 months, and then kind of peer pressure. I was at a cool drinks and I was like, I want to keep up with the cool people here. So I had a couple drinks, and, the things like that basically started to pop into my like head. It wasn't until it was out of my life. And then basically 2020 and then 2021, it basically came back in ways that I was like, this is because I'm sad. This is because I'm not doing well, or I am not happy, or, it came back in my life in a not okay way. And one of my best friends in this world, Rob Moore, who we have had every experience in the world together. He's a best friend. We partied, all that stuff. He's sober, and he was really a light for me. And the last thing I'll say on it was, I knew in my bones that it was the right thing to do for me. Mm-hmm. I knew in my soul, and it got to a point where when I would take a drink, and I could have a drink and go home. It's not like, I had it together. I could definitely still be drinking, but it got to this point where it felt like I was escaping reality. And rather than escaping my reality, I wanted to engage more in my reality. And that has ultimately been the thesis every single time, is not escaping, but engaging more in my life, engaging more in my feelings, engaging more in who I want to be, rather than escaping it. It's not a fairy tale. I went to a wedding on New Year's Eve, and I was like, I will do anything for a champagne, but it's okay. You're okay. And you asked if it's forever. This has been my greatest lesson it's about to be 15 months of being sober. I hesitate with that because I haven't really honored the program, mm-hmm. and I really want to. But this has been my greatest lesson. That saying of one day at a time is so true and has helped me in everything in life, because we live in this time of probable future, which never before in the history of humanity have we had such a probable future. And because of this probable future, we get all worried and anxious and conjure up all these future conditions that may or may not happen. But the real truth is, you know what, today, heck no, I'm not drinking today. I'm going to commit to the things that really matter to me. I'm going to really work hard to be my best self and try to enjoy life a little bit. When I wake up tomorrow, who knows? But pretty sure I'm going to try to do the same damn thing. And I have a feeling that when I pick up my head 6 months from now and it's going on 2 years, I'm probably going to feel the same exact way. Yeah. But in terms of forever, that thing ain't real.
Yeah. Yeah. I think people can be different there. The one day at a time thing wasn't actually working for me. So when I didn't drink beginning of June or middle of June, I tried 30 days and then I went back into right old habits. I'm like, I need more time underneath my belt here to really figure out my relationship with alcohol and break these bad habits. And I read this book by Holly Whitaker called, I'm blanking on the name. It's not We Are the Luckiest. Quit Like a Woman. And her whole mantra was, one day at a time, felt like I have to make this decision every day. And she's like, I'm not going to question the commitment. It's not an option. I don't have to think about it. I've already decided. It's kind of like cigarettes. Like, I don't have to think about cigarettes every day and decide I'm not smoking. It's just like not something I do, and it doesn't get my headspace. And I found for me that I was like, listen, from June to December, it's just not on the table for me. So I didn't give it any energy. And I'm sharing that with you guys who are listening because what Alex was saying before, there's different ways to go about doing things that work for you. And there's not a one size fits all or one solution toward everything. And so remembering that, I always like to say there are more than one right answers. You just have to learn yourself enough to know what the right answer is for you. And some people might be able to cut way back in drinking. I found myself doing way too many mental gymnastics where I just had to abstain for a longer period of time. And I'm still sort of on the abstaining train, deciding, am I just going to commit again for a long period of time? Am I ready to do that? Because I haven't had to, I'm sort of already ingrained into I haven't been thinking about alcohol. So do I need to make another public commitment? But anyway, I share that. Just interesting that you and I are both on the path. You and I don't sound like we're addicts. Again, I don't know if you are not going to share that, but I know that I wasn't an addict with alcohol. I just was like, this isn't serving me anymore.
Yeah, I want to frame this in a question for the audience, but I'll say on the addict note, like, I don't totally know. I push back on these with a lot of people in different settings. Like, I don't know what that word means. I have no idea. I know that I have a very obsessive personality, which when I channel it for good things is really good. And I also know that this thing hasn't totally served me. And I've done it even when it hasn't. So this is what I'll pose to the audience is, what is a comfortable habit that if you removed it, your life would be markedly better? So what is something that is just part of your life that we don't really question? It's just kind of customary. But if you were to check that out, your life would improve. And I'll give an example is like, I wake up, not every morning, but a lot of mornings, and I go right to my phone. I know that that's not a good thing to do. I know it conceptually. I know the science. I know all about it. I still do it because it's comfortable. But I also know that the days when I don't do that, better day, better morning, better week. So my question to the audience to put into their life is just, what's a habit that if you removed it, things would be better?
Yeah. Well, let's get into this unstoppable thing because I know we don't have a ton of time today. So that's your whole thing, right? About being unstoppable. Can you just talk about what that means for you? And again, think about the advice you can give to folks listening on, because everybody wants that. That sounds great, to be unstoppable. So what does that mean to you? And what's your whole methodology around that?
Yeah, American Ninja Warrior has been such a blessing and a challenge. It came into my life in 2016, first as a host, and then I basically was challenged to get good at this impossible sport that I failed and humiliated myself over and over and over. But in doing that, I actually started to get good and then won an award and became a competitor. And that's really where I got the nuts and bolts of what this system is, because it's such a high octane environment where you have to handle your emotion, your physical, your mental, everything, with a lot of people looking at you one go. So it was like everything got dialed up to 11 out of 10. So that is where I created this system. But really what unstoppable means to me, because it's a word that I've never really used in my language up until these last couple of years, to me, it's just like, we're in. You talked about commitment. It's that. It's first taking a moment, getting out of the busyness, the hecticness, the avoidism of our lives, and simply saying, what is really important to you? Give me 3. Don't give me 10 things. There's not 10 things that are really important to you. There are 3 that you will die for. What are those 3? And they change. It might be for this season of life, this next 3 months, these next 6 months. But what are those 3? Get clear on them, write them down, and then lock them up. Put them in your heart. Know that we're in. And know that no matter what challenges get thrown our way, we're in. And I guarantee you, if you are coming from that deep of a want that you want this for yourself, your family, the people that you touch, and you are unwaveringly in, no matter what, it's just a matter of time. Because most people give up on attempts 1, 2, 3. But if you're like, no, I'm in. And every single attempt that doesn't go perfectly, cool. I'm going to learn. I'm going to grow. I'm going to use it to commit even better. There is no stopping you. Most people lack that sincere dedication to keep going.
And Alex, do you think they lack it because they don't really want it? They think that they want it?
The most powerful motivator is wanting something deeply. And I'll say that if you can't source it right now internally of what do you really want deeply, I'll pose it this way to you: is what could this mean to you? What could this unlock for you? What positive ripples could come? So to check into your imagination there and find motivation that way.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a great point to end, and write those things down, you guys. Of again, it's like we all can get caught up in society and familial pressures and everything else of what it is we think we should want because everybody else wants it or tells us that's what we should want, but really getting clear and trying to get, again, super granular on why those things are there to motivate you, and picturing your life of what your life would look like once you achieve them. Alex, where can people find you?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and I'd love to do a round two sometime. So I'm Alex Weber on all of the things, one being Weber, and I would love to hear from everyone.
That sounds great. Well, Alex, thank you so much for sharing your insights today. We appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll connect with you again soon.
Awesome. And thank you so much.